This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Lyseanne.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, I'm Lyseanne. I'm an alcoholic. Good job, Mark. God, less than 30 days and leading a meeting. Come on, you guys. Give it up. Give it up. I have trouble leading meetings now. You know what I mean? And I'm your speaker. Think about that. Thank you, Michelle, for asking me to speak. It was so great to walk into here tonight and see my friend Sandy that I've known for 18 years. So thank you for being here and making me feel comfortable and welcome, and everybody for making me feel welcome. Is Rudy here?
I'm right here.
What's up, Rudy? I had to meet the most popular guy in the room. Right on. Right on. Okay, cool. All right, I can go. I feel a part of now. If you're new tonight, welcome. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. And just so you know, all that like rousting and Rudy and the whole pirate thing going on in here, that's love, man. That is love. We love each other, and we love each other. You know what I mean? It's also lust, apparently. Wow. Yikes. Okay. Actually, I think I dated somebody like that. So, welcome to AA. This is such a great place. And as you can see, we have a lot of fun here. It's really, really, we do a lot. We do a lot, conventions and meetings and, events that we have in each of our individual home groups. And it's really, really cool. My sobriety date is March 18th, 1991. And I'm really grateful for that day. Really, really grateful. So, I come from a Italian-Irish background. Yeah, serious drinkers. My parents are from back east, and they met in New York in a bar. What a surprise. And my dad was already a daily drinker by that time. My family is, there's a lot of alcoholism in my family. There's people who have committed suicide and died from, cirrhosis of the liver and all kinds of stuff. So it's alive and well. And not everybody's sober, I have a lot of sobriety in my immediate family, but not my extended family. But anyway, my parents met. They got pregnant, got married in that order, had 2 kids, and then got pregnant with me and came to California. I feel like I rocked it on that one, okay? Or else I would have been born in New Jersey. Hoboken. I can't believe I didn't get an on that one. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. I actually have a little Jersey in me, I feel. So I think I would have done well out there because I'm kind of rough around the edges. So, they came to California, and we were there. I grew up in alcoholism, and alcoholism is a family disease, and even the people that don't have it are affected, and it's gnarly. And I just want to say, if you're a member of Al-Anon and you're in this room tonight, welcome. I don't know if this is an open meeting, but thank God that there's recovery for everybody, because alcoholism is frickin' gnarly. It is gnarly. It kicks your ass, even if you don't have it. So. A little plug for Al-Anon. So I grew up in alcoholism, and my dad was the drinker. My mom. You know what I love? This is one of my favorite lines in the book is about how the alcoholic is in full flight from reality, but like the Al-Anon's chasing him. You know what I mean? So it's like, who's sicker in that visual, right? Full flight from reality, and the other person's chasing him. Crazy. So that was my mom. She chased my dad, and I, watched that dance. My mom, I think she started drinking to try and keep him home, and it didn't work. You know what I mean? And she was just constantly pissed. I mean, she was just pissed all the time. And so that's what we got. We got her rage at the alcoholic. And so I learned as a young kid just to kind of disappear. And I like to read, and I did well in school. I was like a gifted child, and that's how I got my self-esteem and my, all my accolades and how I felt good about myself. And that went on for a while. It didn't last long though, because it stopped working. That was like my alcohol, and it stopped working. So then I started like going in the other direction and not doing anything. And my parents ended up splitting when I was about 8. And by this time, my mom was drinking pretty heavily, and we went and lived with her. And she was out all night at the bars, and she couldn't hold a job. We were on welfare and like bringing strange men home. And we lived in this apartment in North Hollywood that the door didn't lock. And one night a man came in and did something to my sister, and that next weekend that my dad came to pick us up for the weekend, he never brought us back. And so my dad raised 4 kids by himself, a single alcoholic man, daily drinker. And, I disliked my father for a very long time. And today I'm so grateful that I get to, he did the honorable thing. A lot of guys wouldn't have done that. A lot of guys wouldn't have taken their 4 kids and took them on and raised them. My dad was an honorable man. He sucked as a father, but he was an honorable man. He tried. He did the best he could. You know what? We always had a place to live. We always had food on the table. He was just totally not available. And as a parent, I'm a parent today, and I so get that, man. Parenting is the freaking hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, but we'll get to that. Anyway, so I'm growing up in alcoholism. Now, I have this big family. My dad's family moved west. That's why my parents came to California, because his family had all come here. And so the Nardizis were all in California, and they're all crazy drinkers. And we'd get together a lot and have family events, and everybody'd always be drinking, and somebody would always end up in the bathroom crying, and there'd be fights, and somebody'd throw up into their hands, or and I always was afraid. I know everybody's like, yep, done that. I've done that. But I was always afraid to get in the car with my dad. It was just like that drive home was like terror ride. You know what I mean? And I remember it was like such anxiety. I remember I would just sit in the back seat holding on to the door handle, and that's what alcoholism does. It like terrifies the family members of the alcoholic. Growing up, my dad was really unavailable. I had 2 older sisters, a younger brother. It was kind of every man for himself in my family. And, like I said, I would go to school. And as I got older, that stopped working. And I started hooking up with friends. And my sister, Andrea, she's the middle girl. She started acting out and running away. And she was like my little project. She was in full flight and I was chasing her. And she was, to me, she was like so cool, and I just wanted to be just like her. And she was smoking, so I'd smoke, and she was smoking pot, so I tried pot, and I just kind of followed in her footsteps. And I really, my first drink, I don't even know. I was a teenager. There were whatever. I drank one time and at a party, and whiskey and Kool-Aid or some ridiculous, gross, it was horrible coming up, but and it did. And I got sick, and but the way that it felt while I had it in my body, amazing. It was like I was a dorky, awkward kid. I was like so uncomfortable in my own skin, and all my strategies that I had tried, to make myself safe and comfortable, like reading and hiding and, just being in school, those were not working anymore. So when alcohol hit my system, all that awkwardness and fear and discomfort, gone, completely gone. I mean, you guys know, I don't have to describe that to you. It's like magic, the magic elixir, I swear to God. And I was a young kid, and I started using it as much as I could. I smoked pot a lot too, but pot made me really super aware of myself. And I really, I'm aware of myself now, on the natch. I really don't want to be aware of myself. It would be like hyper vigilant awareness. Like I would talk and I would hear myself echoing in but it would get distorted and distorted, and other people were hearing that, I thought, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so bad, so bad. It just made it bad. Life was bad when I was high on pot. And I always ended up doing some ridiculous thing like coughing during my hit and blowing water through the stem, you know what I mean? In front of all the cute guys in the room. Woo, party girl. Don't you wish you could get loaded with me, right? You got to dry the stem out and everybody's pissed, you know? It was so embarrassing. So that's my early drinking. When I was about 15 years old, my sister Andrea and I were, we were doing beer bongs with the guys down the street, and I did like 5. I was 15. I'd never driven a car, never. Didn't know how to drive, never had a lesson, nothing. We're all drunk, and this guy Harold left his keys and went to hang out with his friends, and we're like, let's go park his car in front of his house. Yeah. So we get in the car. My sister drives it, and she parks it in front of his house, and I'm like, I want to drive. So I get in, and she's kind of like, okay. She gets in the passenger seat. I've never driven. It's a stick shift. We lived in the valley. I don't know if you know Rinaldi, but it's a pretty major street. Well, he lived on one side, and I just barreled through Rinaldi and then went around. I had no idea how to stop. She's like screaming, stop, stop, or I'm gonna jump out. I have no idea how to stop the car. I'm totally wasted. I turn into a cul-de-sac and wheelie the car up on top of a fire hydrant and then run screaming from the scene. That was at 15, okay? Needless to say, I didn't get my license till I was sober. I was 27 when I got my license. Yeah. And it was bad. That was bad too. People were afraid to drive with me. I couldn't drive, smoke, have the radio on. I couldn't do like 3 things at once. I had to just drive and shut up, don't talk. Nobody breathe. Shut up, I'm concentrating on driving. That's how I was when I was a new driver. So I think my son's still scared to drive with me. But now it's just because I drive really fast. Because I'm good now. No. So high school, what did we do? We went to parties. We used to meet at Alpha Beta, and Alpha Beta in the parking lot, and like everybody, like, where's the parties? And we'd take a list down, and then we'd all caravan and go to the keggers, and it was like somebody's house whose parents were gone or whatever. I don't even know. Like, we just showed up we don't even know these people. That's where the party is. And pay $2 or whatever and start drinking, hitting the keg and bringing our own beers and standing around. I mean, it was like we were a bunch of teenagers standing around drinking. That's really what the party was. It was nothing other than that. There'd be fights, and the cops would come, and there would be it was all very exciting, helicopters, And then we'd get in the car, drunk, 16, 17, and drive off to the next party. We were out on the roads, out on the streets, driving around drunk. Now, I wasn't driving. I was always a passenger. I always got a ride. So that's what my teenage years looked like, and it was fun. It was fun. It was drinking, hooking up. I had a boyfriend at one point, and I was with this guy for like a year and a half, and he was a nice guy. He was a really nice guy. But he didn't like drugs, and I did. You know what I mean? And I started doing cocaine, and he didn't like that, and so I chose coke. I always chose alcohol or drugs over you or anything else. It was always the high. It was always the drink. It was always, what was going to make me feel. It's what I needed. I needed it. So I got older, and I really had no ambition, really. I didn't go to college. What I did was I went out with my boyfriend at the time one night, and just never came back. Like, I left home. I was like 18, and I just went and lived with him and his family, and sponged off them for a couple of years, and moved up to Oxnard, Silver Strand Beach, which was actually a really cool area. I missed the whole thing. And just, drank up there. I could not get a job. it's like right now I'm telling my son's story right now, except he doesn't drink. He's like, cannot get a job, is not in school, he's 19. I'm a little frustrated. So, I just like lived off people. That's what I did. I went from relationship to relationship and just, drank from their money and kind of gave myself away so I could drink and use. And it was a pathetic life. I remember one time I left this relationship that I had moved out with, and I was drinking a lot, and I had been working as a bad waitress, horrible waitress. Like, people would leave me like a nickel and 2 pennies. It wasn't very good for my self-esteem. But I remember this one morning, I had been up all night drinking and doing coke, and I had the breakfast shift. Ew, it was awful. And I lived with my friend at the time because me and my boyfriend had broken up, and she had cats. And we were up all night, and I would just come home and throw my freaking uniform on the floor, whatever. And then I'd get dressed in the morning, go to work, and I was all like hungover and shit. And I'm serving breakfast, and I feel awful. I just feel awful. But there's this hideous smell. And I'm like, what the hell is that? Well, her frickin' male cat had pissed all over my shirt. And I was like serving people breakfast. It was so gross. Yeah, I had to call her and ask her to come bring me a new shirt. Yeah. I know, right? So yeah, that's how I lived. And I just had a really small life. I went back and lived at home for a while, and my dad had gotten sober by this time. And I got this little job, and I was, spending all my money on drinking, going out. Thursday nights, girls, ladies' night at Coyotes, woo, and then I'd be out all night, and I lost this really good job, and because I could not, like, for me, I don't care if you're still drinking. If everybody else in the room is passed out, I will go. I will keep going. I will drink half full beer bottles. I will crawl around the floor and steal Coke out of your pockets, and then go back and put it back, and then go back and take it out again, over, and you know what I mean? Like, why even bring it back? I don't know, but that's what I did, And, but I just I could not stop. It's like all night and then all day, and then I'm just like a wreck. And so I was living with my dad, and one morning I came home and I went in my room, and I was, getting undressed and whatever. He came into my room and he said, "Get up, get packed, get out." And I knew he meant it. He meant it. So I called my mom, and she came. She let me stay with her for a while, and I ended up like getting this little job and saving some money. And it was she lived in Sylmar, so like I didn't have my people around me, so I couldn't really go out and party. And so I was able to save some money and stuff. And I moved in with this woman, and I got this little job at this restaurant as a waitress, and I started drinking, again, and I met this guy, and I was dating him briefly, and he kicked me to the, he introduced me to freebasing cocaine, which I really enjoyed very much, and I'm obnoxious and ridiculous, and you really don't want to date me when I'm drinking and using, and so he kicked me to the curb. So I wanted to continue doing what I had been doing, so I started dating his roommate. And it was love. No, really, it was love. So I started dating his roommate, who just so happens to be the father of my child now. Anyway, I know, it's pathetic. So I started dating this guy, and we whatever, we did our thing. And I got pregnant. And all of a sudden, I was 5 months pregnant, and like, there was a baby inside me. I mean, it was there, and it was moving, and it was growing, and it was there. And it was too late to really do anything about it. You know what I mean? And so I had to have this kid, and I don't want a kid. like, what am I going to do with a kid, you know? So 5 months pregnant, you know, I told my best friend from high school, who is, you know, my favorite little Al-Anon, untreated Al-Anon, they're the best. And she came and got me and took me to the doctor, and I started going for prenatal care. And you know, it's so weird. I don't know how I did this. I had no car. I had no transportation. I lived in Van Nuys, and I had to go to a county facility because I didn't have insurance or anything. And I used to take the bus from Van Nuys to Olive View Medical Center in Sylmar, like once a week, because I told them what I was doing, and I was a high risk. So I had weekly appointments, and I would get on the bus and go, and like go to these appointments. So I cared, you know, I cared. I just couldn't stop drinking and using. I just could not stop. So, you know, I got loaded on my due date, and I felt so bad about that I didn't drink or use for the next 10 days, and I had my son 10 days later. We were both clean. They let him come home with me, and I remember that first night being home. I was like trying to I couldn't breastfeed because, you know, I drink and use. When I'm not gonna. I just read an article about a lady that got arrested for breastfeeding her child when she was drunk, which I thought, Jesus. So yeah, I guess the laws have changed or something. Anyway, so I brought him home, and I remember I was putting together Playtex nursers, and I was like high on crack, and I was like, I can never smoke crack again because this is so hard, you know. But you know, you just practice and you do it, and so I practiced, and I was good. I ended up. Here's what happened. 15 months later, we were living in a pop-top VW van. We were homeless. We were going to the parks to freshen up in the morning. We were going to motels using my AFDC checks to, you know, drink and use. And we were at a motel in Panorama City, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had some people with me, and we were drinking and freebasing. And my son's father came in, and my son was laying on the bed, and his diaper was soaked through on the bed, like a huge thing. I have no idea how long he had been laying there like that, and I was there the whole time. And his father started to threaten me, and the people calmed him down, and he left, and I was like, okay, God, that, you know, I'm done. I'm done. Cannot do this one more day. I cannot do this to this kid. I used to like sit him in front of the air conditioning vents in the rooms and put the air on him while we're all like smoking crack around him, right? Like, because I was so, like, I cared so much about this kid, but I just could not stop. So I laid down with him, and I fell asleep. And I woke up the next day, and his dad was gone, and those other people were still there doing their thing, and I got up and I called my dad. And I knew that because they were like, hey, you want a hit, you want a beer, whatever, and I was like, no. I knew that if I took a hit or if I drank a beer, I would not leave. I knew it. Like, how did I know that? The night before, I didn't know that. The week before, I didn't know that. I had no idea. But that I knew that if I took that action, I would not leave. So I took my son, and we waited out in the parking lot. My dad came and got us, and that started my journey in sobriety. And that wasn't actually March 18th. That was a couple of weeks before. March 18th is my date because that's when I went into rehab. Rehab. I went into a therapeutic community, and it was very therapeutic. People are, you know, newly sober people are freaking crazy, man. So, you know, one of my favorite things is when they were going through my stuff. I was like a homeless girl, right? They're going through my stuff, like, you know, they check and they take away like your tweezers and shit so you don't kill yourself, or I don't know. Poke your eye. Well, I don't know what. They take away your tweezers. But maybe roach clip. I don't know. But they're like, you have cool stuff. I'm like, I'm homeless. Like, what? Really? Maybe I should go back out. No. So I was in this facility for 20 months, and you know, it was really amazing. It it was run by the inmates. The inmates were running the asylum, and I had to, like, cook breakfast. I was a breakfast cook, and it sucked. But you know what? I learned how to be responsible. I had no structure in my life, none. And I learned how to be productive and wake up at a certain time and clean and show up for commitments. You know what I mean? Like we learned in AA, but it started there for me. So I got to go to school and learn how to use a computer, and I got to get a job while I was there. And I got an apartment and a car before. I didn't even have my license yet, but I got a car. My dad gave me his car before I left. And lots of interesting things happened. Like, there was like a scabies epidemic, and people were like, there were men and women, so there were like relationships in the frickin' broom closet. Great. People would go out and get loaded on they'd go out for to go to SSI or whatever, and they'd get loaded or whatever. Some women would get their kids back, and then they'd go out and get loaded and get their kids taken away. It was really heartbreaking. But I was serious about my recovery. I was serious. Like, I wanted to be sober. And so I stayed sober. And by the time I left, I had all those things, and I got an apartment. I moved in with one of the girls, and I started going to meetings. My sister was sober by this time, and she was a member of the Pacific Group, and she started taking me to meetings. And I got a sponsor there, and I started doing, having a regular meeting schedule. And I was a single mom, so I didn't go to meetings every single night. And my son actually came to a lot of meetings with me. I have a commitment sheet from our Wednesday night meeting, which is our big meeting, and it says outside cleanup, Lyseanne and Sean, because I used to take Sean with me. That's my son's name, Sean. So I raised this kid alone, and I was just trying to be sober and working and parenting. Like 4 months after I got out of rehab, I had almost 2 years of sobriety when I got out of that community, and 4 months later, of course, I had a boyfriend. You get a boyfriend right away, and so that, like, the next 10 years of my sobriety was all about that relationship, being in it, being out of it, being in it, being out of it, being in it, being out of it. Going to meetings, having commitments, doing the stuff that we do, going to events, working maybe a step here and there, maybe, and being in this relationship, because it was really important, you know what I mean? And it was madness. So that relationship finally, well, what happened was 10 years sober, having my 10-year party, I'm like getting ready, taking a shower, crying hysterically in the shower because I'm a total fraud. I'm a fraud. I don't really know how to work this program. I am a mess. And I went and had my party, and I made a decision at that time that I needed to make some changes. And so I started praying, please send me a sponsor that will work the steps with me. Because I'd been asking my sponsor to work the steps with me, and she kept putting me off for some reason. I don't know why. And so one day I was at work, and all of a sudden, like, it was as if somebody was in the room. I heard the name Darlene. Like, it was loud. I actually looked around because it was so loud. And I was like, oh my God, Darlene. So I asked this woman, Darlene, to sponsor me. She still sponsors me today. And she started me on a journey at 11 years. It took a year for me to find a sponsor after that. It took a year. And she started me on a journey in this program that hopefully, if you're new, you'll start now. Don't wait 10 years, man. It's so not worth it. I've worked the steps several times in my sobriety, and over many different things, alcoholism, relationships, food addiction. I got that one too. Woo! Put down the alcohol with this girl, and I'll find other things. I'll eat. I'll smoke. I'll chase you. I'll catch you. I have stalking tendencies. No, I'm getting better. That's right. I'll find you. No. So, yeah, so, but you know, it's so funny. I just did a first step with my sponsor last night. We're going through the steps again right now. And it was so great. She's, you know, sponsors are amazing. They just know things, you know what I mean? Like, how do they know? And they don't know things for themselves. Like, we don't know things for ourselves, but they know them for you, you know? Like, somebody else has to tell them their stuff, you know? So that's how it works here. We can't do it for, if I could do it alone, I wouldn't be here right now. Come on. Be at home with the freaking remote. So she's, you know, we're having this, we're doing this first step, and she goes, "You're immature." And I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "You mean that tantrum I had in the kitchen last night when I came home and the dishes weren't done, and I was like cussing my ass off and gritting my teeth and like cursing my son's life? That's immaturity?" And then I started to think, like, what is maturity? Like, how would a mature person respond to that? Coming home and at 9:30 at night when you haven't eaten and the kitchen's a disaster and you have to cook, you know? I was so pissed. But what is a mature response? And I thought, wow, I'm immature. That's pretty interesting. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying that's a new one. Like, that's a new one. We keep learning. You know what I mean? It's like, so now I'm like, I'm like baffled. What's maturity look like? I wish there was a video that you could like put in the VCR and then it would show that scene of me in the kitchen, like insanity. And then like, and this is maturity. And then like, this is how, and so then I could model that, but they don't have that. You just have to like figure it out or something. Thank God I didn't pull a mommy dearest and like go in my son's room and like pull him out of bed and be like, wire hangers, you know what I mean? Because I've done that. I have. I've gotten better because I've done that. Beat the shit out of the top bunk. I was like, get the fuck. Okay. I'm that lady. My poor son. He's amazing, you guys. Okay, so I just want to tell you really quickly about my kid. Sean, his name's Sean, he's 19. He doesn't do anything, really. He sits and plays video games. Really, it's hideous. He's my biggest obsession. I like how can I get him to have a life? Like, that's my thing. I have to go to another program for it. I know, I'm telling you. He's so great. He's sweet. He doesn't drink or use. He's the nicest kid. He doesn't clean the kitchen, but he does if I ask him. But he doesn't do anything if I don't ask him. That kind of makes me nuts. Like, just do it. You know what I mean? I think he's going to start college again. He's going to try it again. We'll see. But and you know, he's got some learning disabilities. I'm sure that my drinking and using throughout my pregnancy has something to do with that. And you know, it's the hardest thing that I live with every day. It's really the most painful. For me, parenting, this is something my sponsor said to me last night too. She's like, you care in extreme. Like, I'm very extreme with everything. I care in extremes. And I care so much. She's like, caring shouldn't hurt the way that it hurts for you. I care so much that I don't want to care because caring hurts. I hate it. I don't want to fucking care about you. I don't. And with him, it's like there's no wall. He's like a freight train coming at me. I don't have anything to block it. So I have to really work the steps around it and turn it over and get lots and lots. I swear I have a team of experts working around the clock because I need a lot of help. And you know, this program, and I didn't really talk a lot about the steps, and you know, it's changed my life. I have you know, for me, it's like I trust the process of this program. I trust this program. This program has never failed me when I show up for it. That is my God. My God is in all of you. You guys show me that this thing works, you know? I've been sober for 18 years, 4 months, and like 2 weeks. You know, I was a crack-smoking, frickin' alcoholic nightmare pregnant lady. And here I am. You know, my son's 19. He survived. He lived. I kind of put him in a little box. I took the lid off, and I'm trying to get him out now, but he's kind of comfortable there. It sucks, you guys. I swear to God. Damage, alcoholism. Okay. Anyway, so if you're new, please stay, please stay, please stay. This is the best program. You will meet I'm sure you've already met some amazing people. Get a sponsor, get a friend, tell your friend everything, and you know, then you can tell your sponsor later. But don't take any advice from your friend, ever. Don't. That's bad. Especially if they have just a little more time than you. I'm really happy that I got to come here tonight. Thank you guys so much.